Welcome back, lords and ladies, to the ICEcast. I am Rick, and with this episode, it's going to be part one of two. Might be the last time I start doing this, too. I was thinking about it, and if I left it alone as one episode, it would be 3 hours, and I know the majority of you guys wouldn't sit for 3 hours to listen, but I don't know. I just figure from now on, it doesn't matter how long it goes, this needs to be done in one sitting and put out in one sitting. So, but this time I'll definitely break it up. Part one will be today, part two next week on Wednesday. But it's actually a sit down with my cousin Mike Rowe, or Michael Allen is his stage name. He's the lead singer of the band Darkhorse, one of the top country bands in Tampa Bay for the past 20 something years. And I hope you guys enjoy it. For this first part, I think mainly all we talk about is music, some of his influences, his top favorite songs, this, that, and the other, some Dark Horse stories. And then next week will be a little more controversial. So hope you guys enjoy. As you can tell, I kind of just woke up to this intro because I forgot about the intro. But have a good day. I'm going to head off to work, and I'll talk to y'all later. Right now, one time at band camp. That's funny. All right. Now that I got that set up. I normally don't do intros. I said that last week with Grandpa, too. I'm going to do an intro for you because I might get some new listeners out of this. Because you, my cousin, Michael Allen, are the lead singer of Darkhorse. Which one? What award did you win?
Favorite country band of Tampa Bay.
But what year was that? Robin's in the background. That's awesome.
The answer is no. That's all they had. I went to two different stores for you.
Robin, that was my fault. I forgot to turn on the red light out there in the living room.
You want to start that all over?
No, I don't. No? That's up to you guys. I'm fine with everything. I don't cut much.
It's up to you.
Favorite country band of Tampa Bay?
Yes.
And that was what year?
It was 2012, 2013.
It was a pretty big deal.
It was very cool. There was a ceremony, and TBMI, which is Tampa Bay Music Industry, hosted an award show, basically. And we were actually performing that night. And we got off that night at 11, and the band and everybody, we all hauled tail over to Tampa to catch the last hour of the award show when we got our awards, and they took us up on stage and all that. The only thing that kind of sucked was we didn't get a chance to actually perform for everybody because we didn't get there till so late. I mean, it was like midnight.
You would have been able to, though, if you guys were there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there were tons of bands. The who's who of Tampa Bay's music scene was there. It was really, really cool.
That's a pretty big deal. Because isn't it fan voted?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yep.
And that was, you said 12?
Yeah, 2012, 2013.
That was the year Kenzie was born. But Dark Horse has been around since 90 something?
98.
Wow.
February 14th of 98, we did our first show.
Valentine's Day?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Was it at Koala?
It was.
Yeah. But you were playing at Koala before Dark Horse, weren't you?
Nope.
Now, Dark Horse was your first band.
Correct.
But
my only band.
But you've sat in with like your dad and stuff, right? Before
So the whole music thing started when I was a kid. I started singing, obviously in school.
Oh, the rain's kicking up.
Yeah.
Just in case y'all hear that in the background.
Right. But, I grew up when I spent several years in Maryland, and then we would come down here and spend the summers with my dad, and he had a band. and his mom and dad had a band, and his uncle, my brother, had a band. And so music during the summertime, that was the thing, you know. So when I moved down here when I was 13, and, you know, I used to listen to my dad and my mom walk around the house singing harmonies and practicing different things. And so, I don't know, when I turned 21, a friend of mine took me to Carly's, which was a pretty big country bar around town. And I got up and sat in with them and started doing that. On Sundays, they had an open jam, so I would get up and sit in and sing a couple of songs. And one day my dad came in and stood in the back and watched me, and he's like, "Why didn't you tell me you wanted to do this?" And I was like, "Well, I don't, you know," he was my idol.
Right.
You know, I was intimidated. You know, I had for years helped him unload and load equipment, walk into these bars with him where, you know, these nightclubs where people were in awe of him because he's a musician and a giant musician, a great musician at that. You know, so I, you know, I only a couple of times when I was growing up did they ever hear me sing, you know, because I just didn't do it around the house. One time was for a talent show when I was 16, I think. You know, that's a whole nother story because I broke a window while I was practicing.
Oh, no, you got to get into that.
I was practicing for a talent show, right? Song was called "The Race Is On" by Sawyer Brown. I'm 16 years old. Yeah, that one? Okay. That's it. And I'm in the bedroom practicing. Now, Dad and Mom actually created the music for me. Like, they had an electric drummer, and she played bass, he played guitar. Well, I guess I should clarify. I'm lucky enough to have two mothers, right? I have the mother who raised me until I was 13, and then the mother who took over from there and raised me the rest of the way, you know.
Before you continue, I've always found that really, I don't know the word I'm looking for. You never referred to Aunt Patty as a stepmom.
No.
Because she, you know, she was so good to you. And
absolutely.
It's just like the respect, and it's always been, you have two moms. It's that simple. And I've always loved that.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
and same goes for my brother.
Yep.
My sisters, even though they may not be 100% blood related, they are, in fact, my sisters. There's no separation, you know, whatsoever. So very blessed in that respect, you know. And, you know, my stepfather is Pop.
Yep.
You know, he's always been that to me and my brother.
And Josie, zero blood, but that's a sister to you too.
Absolutely. So
cool.
You know, Wendy's my big sister, and she'll murder anybody that messes with me.
I believe
you know, I mean, that's just her. But anyway, kind of lost my train of thought.
Broke a window. I'm not gonna go.
Broke a window. Yeah. So they had created the music and they put it on a tape. So you know, the week before this, I'm in my bedroom every day practicing, and the timing of the intro, I should have known that was a sign of things to come. The timing of when to come in and start singing, I couldn't quite get it. And I took a hairbrush that I was using as an imitation microphone, and I threw it on the bed, and it bounced off the bed and broke the window. All you hear is glass shatter, and it hit hard. And I was like, oh my. And I hear, Michael Allen. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, what in the world? You know, and I explained what happened, and they laughed about it. I mean, it was funny, but yeah, that's that. So anyway, that was my first endeavor into music. A couple of weeks after the talent show, they were hosting a jam session, and you didn't have to be 21 to get in, and so I went with them to the jam session that they were hosting, and unbeknownst to me, they had intentions of calling me up to sing that song.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, you do. So
I've been up a couple times, and I'm just like,
right.
oh man.
So I'm sitting there having a Coke, and all of a sudden they're calling me to the stage, and I didn't know what they were calling me up for, and
Your dad
I just walked up thinking they were going to lean down and say something to me, and oh no, come on up here. So I had to get up and sing, and in the middle of it, my Uncle Jimmy, who's over in the pool room, I see him out of the corner of my eye getting into a fight with the guy, and my mom's like, just keep going. Just keep going. And I learned right then and there, no matter what happens out in the crowd, you keep going. Right. You never stop. And it was a lesson that I took into my music career. Right. I've been a professional musician for over 25 years now. Played a lot of big places and a lot of small places, and big crowds and small crowds, and have loved most of every minute of it.
Right.
When
did you first realize that, oh shit, I can sing? Like everyone sings in the shower, everyone sings in the car. When did you realize I can actually sing?
Well, it was in between being 19 and 21, right? So I was out of high school, but not old enough to go into bars type thing. So my friends that I hung out with, they all were like, man, you can actually sing, and it was just, getting up and singing a couple of songs, sitting in somewhere, and people started asking me back.
Right.
Hey, come back out, come, and I didn't realize then that there was an ulterior motive. The ulterior motive is you try to draw people to come to where you're performing. Mm-hmm. It's what helps bands get booked, is having a following. So, I wasn't quite aware of that. I just thought, oh, shoot, these people like hearing me sing. So I think when my grandfather one time, this is my dad's dad, I did a Keith Whitley song sitting in with my mom and dad's band. Don't Close Your Eyes.
Right.
And my grandfather told me after, he said, I never really have cared for that song, but I really enjoyed the way you sang it.
Right.
And that was a pretty big compliment for me, to be 21, 22, I never had any training as far as with a band. I mean, chorus is completely different than a band setting.
Right.
And my grandfather had been playing music for over 50 years, and he had himself done some big things in music. So that was a pretty big deal for me. So that's when I learned, maybe I've got something here. And then, I can't tell you how many hours I practiced singing in a mirror, trying to find a way to. Well, I guess what I was doing initially was I was imitating what I was hearing on the radio. And so I was changing the inflections of my voice. And my mom told me, she said, stop. There's already a George Strait. There's already a Garth Brooks. You need to find your own voice.
Right.
And that's hard to do. So the way I learned to do that was I would learn a song, and I would listen to it 4 or 5 times, 6 times, however many times it took until I learned it. And then I would never listen to it again. So when I take that into the band, we learn it like the record goes, and then we never listen to it again. And when we start performing it, we kind of added our own flavor to songs, and it turned into, some people called it a Darkhorse sound. Right. It just took on a life of its own, to where the songs progressed and grew, and now when we listen to the record, we're like, holy cow, that's what it was
Right.
supposed to sound like? Because it doesn't sound like that, you
Well,
know? And
you say the Darkhorse sound, and I always remember because you guys have this thing of where you'll speed a song up, even if it's just a little bit, but
Right.
you always speed it up.
Yep.
The one that always comes to mind is Redneck Girl.
yeah.
Well, you guys kick that up at least 2 or 3 notches.
Yep.
And you say find your sound. You actually mentioned that to me once about singing. It's like, don't try to sing like that person on the radio. Listen to it, turn the radio off, then sing
Mm-hmm.
it. And I'm nowhere near a singer. I can maybe carry a tune enough to where I can join
No,
them
you
on
do
stage.
it. You actually are surprising because I never knew you could sing. Never
Right.
knew. And I was very
I
surprised.
spent a good 13 years from my teenage years in a bar listening to you every
Right.
weekend. So
Right.
it's hard not to catch up on things. But when you, I'm curious, it's probably a question for someone else actually, but you take a song, you listen to it like you said, and then you change it to where it fits your style.
Mhm.
Do you think someone, say like Ray, you guys learn it, like the record, and then you start doing, does he add things of his own?
Ray is actually my
That's-
drummer, so
yes.
he's not just doing these things for no reason.
I mean, we don't know what he does when he's home, but Ray is the drummer of Darkhorse.
I do know what he does when he's at home. He's made sure to tell me, you know. He's normally working on
Right.
his race car or, you know, something. It's his, I don't want to say newest passion because he's been doing it for
Right.
several years now, but he just bought a brand new race car. It's badass.
That's awesome.
So anyway,
Have you noticed that like him or your dad, they'll change like a different tempo
Yes.
or add a couple? Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So my problem is, and it started immediately, was a lot of times when you listen to these records and you learn them, there's not enough passion, not enough drive, and it doesn't translate well to a bandstand. Okay? In a bar setting, the goal is to try to get people interested in what you're doing, get them dancing, get them feeling good, having a good time. The more they dance, the more they sweat, they drink, you know. Our goal as a band is to make the cash register ring at the end of the day.
Then they
Because
want you back.
correct.
Gotcha.
So I had such a hard time with songs that are medium tempo. Okay?
Give me an example.
Sure. Right Where I Need to Be or Wanna Be by Gary Allan.
Great song.
It's a great song. But from a band standpoint, on a bandstand, no one can dance to it. Right? It's like literally middle of the road. And so in my band, we sped it up a little bit.
Yep.
But in a friend of mine's band, they actually slowed it down and made it a ballad.
Oh, I bet that sounds good.
It does. And when I set in with them to try and sing it, they played it that way, and I'm like trying to speed it.
Right.
It was like, okay, I got to follow them,
Yeah.
you know, and slow it down. There are a ton of songs that are just like that, where they're not fast enough live for people to actually dance to. So I started speeding songs up, and then it just became a Darkhorse thing where we play everything faster than the record unless it's a ballad.
You guys, now for Darkhorse, what I love is it's not really ever been Mike Allen and Darkhorse.
No.
It's Darkhorse.
Right.
So usually every band member that can sing gets a small spot in the set.
Mm-hmm.
Every set usually only has one ballad, if that.
Correct.
You know, and you'll throw it in there for the slow dancers here and there because you kind of have to.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, I've always loved your voice when you do ballad songs. You have this very soulful tone to you. You can sing anything, but when you do the ballads like "Don't Close Your Eyes,"
Right.
and, Keep Her the Stars. When you used to do that,
Mm-hmm.
good Lord!
Well,
and
thank
so
you.
that's what I've always loved the most.
So I love singing ballads. Absolutely love singing the slow songs. It gives me a chance to relax into the song. Breathing is not an issue on those slow songs.
Right.
Sometimes I have pitch problems on the fast songs, and it's mainly due to not having enough breath. You know, over time I've put on some weight, and you know,
It happens.
Yeah, definitely, especially with 5 knee surgeries and
And a heart
herniated
problem
disc.
now? Yeah, come on.
Yeah, yep, got a heart problem now. So, but anyway, love doing ballads. I've actually been thinking about doing like a Facebook Live
Your brother did.
set. Well, he just did one song.
I didn't even watch it.
Yeah.
Sorry, cuz. Yeah.
Damn, that's rough.
I saw it and I was like, I'm gonna watch that later.
Yeah.
Totally forgot.
Yeah, he
Got into doing
he did
something.
a Tom Petty tune then and did a great job. But I've been thinking about that, and so in thinking about it, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's my set going to consist of? Well, it's just one guy and an acoustic guitar, and that guy's not a good guitar player, which I am not a guitar player. I'm
You're much better than when you know.
you're
You're like your dad. You pretty much taught yourself.
Yeah. I chunk on some rhythm and sing to it, but most of those songs in the set would be of the slower variety. But anyway, so you know, music obviously has been a huge part of my life. It's you know, plenty of highs and just
Right.
as many lows, but
I'm sure some people want to know. You did have pretty much a cup of coffee in Nashville for a little bit.
Yeah,
but you made
yeah.
your way back.
yeah, I went up there for about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And started to get a little traction, but had some things come up here that I needed to come back and take care of, and you know, so
That was also a weird time for you to go, because you have a very original, authentic sound, whereas that seemed to be the time where the Aldine and the Bryans were starting to turn up,
Mhm.
and you almost weren't fitting in with that mainstream sound. So I was
Mhm.
afraid. I was like, they're not going to want that. Now you're getting the Justin Moores and the Eric Churches, and that sound's coming back.
They're right,
And so you would have been
right,
now you'd be
yeah,
killing it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I you know, Nashville is very much a networking town. You know, it's who you know, and I didn't know anybody.
right.
You know, like millions of others, you know, we show up and have a guitar strapped to our back and don't know anything or anyone, and you know, we start trying to see what we can do. And I started hanging out on Broadway, and setting in whenever I could. I would actually tip the bands to get the opportunity to set in with them, and it just led from one thing to another. You know, there was a band playing at Tootsie's one night. I jumped up and did a couple of songs with them, and someone came up to me in the crowd and said, the owner of Tootsie's wants you to come back tomorrow at 4:00. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
oh, okay. Well, what for? Well, he wants to hear you again. I didn't know what that meant, what to expect. So I showed up the next day at 4:00, and there was a band setting up to do their own showcase, right? So this band is a good band, good musicians, and they were told, oh, by the way, this guy's going to sing for you.
Oh,
Right. I'd never met them. They'd never met me. They had their own singer.
right.
And I ended up, you know, we just, the band didn't know what to think, what to say, what to do, but they knew that they had this opportunity, and we're like, well, so we came up with, I don't know, 10 or 12 songs that we could pull off together, and we did it. And that led to me having the opportunity to front a couple of small bands up front at Tootsie's.
Oh, wow.
And then I did quite a few sets over at the Nashville Palace, in the front of the Nashville Palace as well. So, I mean, I had some things happening, but it's all about timing and and I had some commitments here and had to come back.
Yep.
So,
All right.
but that was that. But, I always said, I'm going to do music for 10 years. And if I haven't gotten where I want to be after 10 years, I'm just going to stop playing. 10 years came and went really fast.
Right.
And my goal had always been to have the top country band in Tampa Bay, basically. And at different times, we have absolutely been that.
Yep.
We have had
Opened
other
for
bands
some big
tell
names,
us
too.
they were intimidated to follow us into a club and things like that. And there are times where I firmly believe we had the best band in Tampa Bay. But things come, bands, members come and go, things
Right.
happen, health issues happen, and stability in a band is hard to come by.
Right.
I was blessed to have my dad and Bruce Rhodes with me for 5 or 6 years, and then Dad left, and it was me, Bruce, and then Ray Catterton came in, and we were together for a long time.
Yep.
A very long time. The three of us were the staple of the band, and then over the last couple of years, as most people know, Bruce got really sick and he ended up passing away. But my dad and I basically regrouped and reformed the band and did that for the last 2 years. And then I started having some health issues and needed to take a break from music for a little while. So, took my break, and now I'm chomping at the bit to get going again. And
Now
Ray and
COVID took a
I
break
are
for you guys,
actually...
too.
Yeah, Ray and I are actually reforming the band, and right now there's literally nothing we can do because of the COVID virus thing.
Right.
But at some point, hopefully towards the end of the year, we're back out. That's kind of where my thinking lies.
Okay.
So,
Okay. If you were to have no commitment issues, no money issues, no personal issues, and you could build the ultimate Darkhorse band. Now, any member that was in the band. So you're the lead singer.
yep.
You need a guitarist,
Mm-hmm.
bass guitar, drummer. I'm going to give you an alternate, so like steel
Yeah.
violin,
Yep.
and then you get one extra vocalist just to be like your backup. Who'd you build?
So you're saying 6 people,
So you,
and
drummer,
then 5 other people.
drummer, guitar, bass, alternate, and backup singer. So you get 5 other people.
So, okay, well, it's not that difficult. Ray is obviously my drummer.
Right.
Bruce is my guitar player. Dad is my steel guitar / fiddle player because
Right.
he's phenomenal on those instruments.
Yes, he is.
Bass player is a toss-up between John Kianco and Clay Davis.
Okay.
They're both phenomenal players, both phenomenal harmony singers as well as lead singers. So it's a toss-up. They're both true professionals,
Right.
So that leaves the backup singer.
So yeah, one person that just can provide harmony for any song. That's all they're there for.
That's a good question. Because more goes into it than just musicianship.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have somebody back there that you can trust. Somebody that, and when I say trust, trust to make the shows.
Right.
It's not going to cause problems in the band and things like that. Personalities and egos are huge in a band, and
You
you,
don't
have to
an ego.
learn.
What are you talking about?
I don't think I do, but other people think I do. You know, harmony singer. This may surprise some people, but I'd go with my mom.
I was just going to say that because one, it would also give you that female vocal.
Yep.
And that would be awesome.
She's a phenomenal singer.
But she would also just not want to do that.
And
She'd
her
want to
personality
play.
on stage is so infectious.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you, like, you know, musicianship I learned from my dad, but the personality of being on a stage I learned from my mom.
Right.
If anybody watches her, she's never sitting still on a bandstand. Even if she's having the worst day, she's smiling, she's moving, she's grooving, she's dancing, she's playing the bass, she's singing harmony, singing lead, steps off the stage and engages with the audience. She taught me, before we ever did our first show as Darkhorse, her and I gotten together and we're talking, and she just gave me some advice. She said, the first thing you need to do is memorize people's names. She said, because the biggest thing that will draw people back into you, excuse me, is to say their name over the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. So I learned to do that. I made it a point to.
Oh.
What? Sorry, I'm being flagged off.
That's fine.
Off camera.
5 years later.
That's true.
What?
Hold on.
Hold on. What is that?
So
we got some
all right. So
new evidence from the fiance in the background.
Yes, we do. We have some evidence. Let's see. I met Robin 5 years before I actually met her.
Really?
Yeah. So
you came to a show?
She did. She came into town for her birthday one weekend. It was her and her mother's birthday weekend, and they came up to Brandy's with a few friends. And I saw her and was like, okay,
right.
But I was with someone else, so I couldn't do anything. But I made it a point to go up and introduce myself to her and know her name. And for some reason, she stuck in my brain. And 5 years later, I was now single, and I'm on stage at Brandy's, and see somebody come in the side door, and I'm like, okay, I can't quite make out who that is, but I'm gonna find out when I go on break. So go on break, and I go up to the bar to get a drink, and I see her walking from the opposite side of the bar, and she goes into the restroom, and I'm looking, and I'm going, God, I know her. What is her name? And I'm sitting there trying to think. So I saw her coming out of the bathroom and heading back around the back side of the bar. So I went around the other side. And so we're both walking down the aisle towards each other. And she looks at me, and I went, Robin? And she was like, you remember my name? Wow. And I was like, yeah, of course I do. And she came right into my arms, tried making out with me right then and there, And I was like, whoa, what do you do?
Right.
But yeah, and the next night we went out to on a date to the Skyway. Got my truck stuck in the sugar sand out there and had to get pushed out by a state trooper. And we've been together ever since.
I don't know how you pulled that off.
It's the mullet. It has powers.
You know what? That's something I have written down. The mullet is gone.
The mullet's gone. It was tough, but it had to happen.
Okay, I raise my hand so I know when to edit. And we are back from the small break, and we're going to stick with the music stuff. But as everyone that's been on gets, except for Uncle Josh, I know, dude, we'll get you a question from Kenzie. But we try to do Kenzie's questions. And Kenzie has a question for her Uncle Mikey.
What color was your first guitar ever?
It was wood color, like the one on the wall that John Rich from Big and Rich signed.
So it looked like that?
Similar, but older.
Right.
Yeah, It was it was just an old beater.
Right.
Gosh, I don't even remember where it came from. I think I got it from a pawn shop or something.
Right.
It was acoustic guitar, was not plugged in, and the first 2 or 3 years of me playing, I just
tried.
I just beat on it, you know.
Awesome. Good question, honey.
So, but yeah, good
All right.
question,
Nice,
Mackenzie.
honey. All right. We're just kind of stick with the music for a little bit. We got a lot of topics we can cover, obviously, but music's the biggest thing. That's what a lot of people are gonna remember you for, probably. What is your favorite song to sing ever? Whether it even not be live or just like in the car.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to narrow it down to just one,
Right.
but "Take Me Down" by Alabama is one of my favorite ones. There's a lot I get to do vocally in that song that I really like. It calls for softness, calls for power.
Right.
You know, the range, it's all over the place. Love that song, and it's got a great groove to it. But there are some staples that people expect. You know, for a long time it was a Keith Urban song. I'm gonna draw a blank on the name of it now, but there was a Keith Urban song that we did, "Somebody Like You," that
Okay.
we played every night, sometimes twice a night. And over the last 5 years or so, Luke Bryan, "I Don't Want This Night to End," or "Country Girl, Shake It For Me." But I think my favorite song to sing is "Take Me Down."
Okay.
Yeah, I love that song.
What about your favorite song that mom or dad sang, or both, one from each? If you could just listen to them sing one song.
Sure. Well, that's easy for Mom. That's
Not as easy as he thought.
No, it actually is, but for some reason I'm drawing a blank on it right now.
Oh.
There's a lot of songs going through my brain right now. It's like a jukebox that's just spinning right now. So my brother and I were down here on summer vacation when we were 10 years old. And like I mentioned earlier, we used to watch, or, you know, Mom and Dad used to walk around the house and practice harmonies and singing songs and stuff. And there was a song that she used to sing back then. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on it right now. I can picture her singing it. Long story short was, they were playing during the day somewhere, and my brother and I went with them. Now we're 10 years old, watching them perform, and she called us both on stage.
Oh.
To sing this one song with her. It's, oh gosh, it's right there on the tip of my tongue. And so he and I are sharing a microphone, fighting and elbowing each other over, you know, singing into this microphone. So I would love to hear her sing that song again.
Right.
And I just heard it 6 months ago, and I messaged her about it. I will remember it before the end of this.
If not, he'll tell me and I'll put it in the intro.
Right?
Yeah.
Dad has several. He's got a library of songs.
My favorite song that he does is Sultans of Swing.
Right?
Love when he does that.
Yep. My favorite song to hear him sing is oh.
Oh, here we go.
Think of the name of it. Can you hand that to me?
Yeah, a little bit of music going on here. You want to move the mic or you got room?
It's
And bring the gain down a little so we don't blow the eardrums.
I've been thrown. This is gonna stink because this is not my song. I've been throwing horseshoes over my. That's the way love goes. Is the name.
That's
that
the
was
way
so
love
bad.
goes. That's not your style, though.
That was no, but it's a Merle Haggard song that Merle Haggard re-recorded with Jewel years later,
Right.
And that was just. I loved being able to sing harmony with him on that song.
Right.
But he has a library full of songs.
He's really good.
Yeah. He does a version of "You Gave Me a Mountain." That's just phenomenal.
Right.
So, but like I said, I was blessed to perform with him over the last 2.5 years, and the first 7 or 8 years that I played professionally. So.
Right.
So it was good, really good.
Well, you got the guitar in your hand. Think you can do a little bit of that Aldine you did when you first got in? Because that sounded great.
Let's see. You ain't got a dress that I don't like. You ain't got a pair of jeans that don't fit you just right. There's not a minute in the day that you don't knock me out, you don't blow me away. But girl, now that the sun's gone down, whoa, 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 looking at you right here and now, baby, there's something about that southern sky sitting back behind that moon. It goes perfect with your eyes. Girl, tonight looks good on you. Something about the way you're shining, making them stars fall right on you. I just gotta tell you, baby, tonight looks good on you. There's not a minute in the day that you don't knock me out, you don't blow me away. Wind blowing your hair around, girl, it makes me wanna lay you down. You've been beautiful a million times, but I've never seen you looking like this, no. There's something about that southern sky sitting back behind that moon. It goes perfect with your eyes. Girl, tonight looks good on you. Something about the way you're shining, making them stars fall right on you. I just gotta tell you, baby, tonight looks good on you. No, I never, ever want it to end. Baby, there's something about that southern sky sitting back behind that moon. It goes perfect with your eyes. Girl, tonight looks good on you. Something about the way you're shining, making them stars fall right on you. And I just gotta tell you, baby, tonight looks good on you. Tonight looks good on you. Good at the party, good at the bar, looking so good anywhere you are. Good in the house, good in the car, looking so good anywhere you are.
Dude, that's so good.
Oh,
God, that's good.
thanks,
See?
man. A couple of little mistakes in there.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about with the soul in your voice. That's the kind of music that you should be doing all the time. And you can't do that all the time in the clubs,
Right.
I understand.
Right?
In the bars. But gosh, that's so good.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. That's so good. Wow.
Yeah, so during this isolation period in time, I've been working on some new stuff. Just so that way when we were ready to hit the stage, we're coming out with some new stuff.
Right.
The very first song we learned when we put the band back together, is a Jason Aldean song that Ray called me about, and he's like, "We have to do this."
Mm-hmm. Which one's that?
It's one of his new ones. Gosh, why am I drawing? I've got so many songs stuck in my brain. "We Back" by Jason Aldean talks about the A-Team and
Right.
hitting the stage and rocking it out
Yep.
again and all that. So that'll be the first song we learn.
Okay.
As a band when we reform. So
He Aldean has a song he never released. It was on his Black Train album, I think. Is that what it's called? Night Train album.
yeah,
And it's actually I think it was written by, or at least I know it was performed by, Florida Georgia Line first. It was called Black Tears. Have you ever heard it?
never heard it.
Dude, that's Aldean at his best in my eyes.
Okay.
Aside from Asphalt Cowboy, which was also never released, but that's a great song. But Black Tears, it was basically like a ballad about like a stripper and like how she does what she has to do to survive, but at night she cries these black tears and nobody knows her name by her real name. And, it's intense. You gotta give that a listen sometime. It's really good.
So are you saying that you like songs about strippers?
Just saying, every now and then you gotta have a good song.
I'm just asking.
Everybody deserves a song, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and most stripper songs are more upbeat. There's not many
Exactly.
ballads about
I
strippers.
mean, there's not going to be
so-
any chick dancing to Black Tears, that's for sure. You're going to dance to a song about what you do after you clock out? Not all strippers have Black Tears. I'm sure some of them love what they do. They sure liked my money.
And there you have it.
Let's get into...
That explains our setup today.
That explains a lot. If only had a couple more dollars. Why did I go over to Key West? So, before I get into all the questions I have, we're going to play our game. This little game is simple. I'm going to read off a name of an artist. Of course, they're all country artists because that's what you and I are grown up on.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give me the first word or phrase that comes to your mind when you hear this artist name. So we have a mix of some older school and some new. So Garth Brooks.
The first thing that comes
Thing comes to your head, word or phrase.
Unbelievable entertainer.
There
Unbelievable.
That's perfect.
Of course, I never saw Elvis Presley live or anything like that, or when he was young, but
there's nobody today that can match Garth on stage. With
I
that
don't
kind
think
of,
so.
That kind of just energy
Yep.
and still be able to sing. 'Cause he
To
had that
me,
mic
there are
live.
very few pure entertainers. Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, Garth Brooks,
Right.
Sammy Davis Jr. Rock bands, there are several that are phenomenal. Van Halen, Bon Jovi.
That's more
back
their
in the
style.
day.
You think
Right.
of country music, you're not used to somebody with that
No.
much energy.
No, Garth Brooks
Yep.
leads the pack. Now, there's one that surprised me when I saw him in concert, and that was Toby Keith.
I've seen him live. That was an entertaining show from
Yes, it
beginning
was.
to end.
Yes, it was.
He knows how to get the crowd.
Yes, he does.
You know who else was really good at it too? And I'm not always a fan of him, but Brad Paisley.
Yeah,
You wouldn't expect him to be
Yep.
as much of an entertainer,
right.
but he did really well.
Yeah, so Garth Brooks is just a pure master entertainer.
Okay.
I think he could walk into any bar, no matter what the venue, and have the crowd eating out of the palm of his hands.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
George Strait.
George Strait is just the smoothest country singer there is or ever has been. Just smooth.
And your all-time favorite, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For me, what I loved about George is if you listen to George's, now if you just take lyrics only, listen to one of George's love songs, then go listen to a hip hop song. They're both talking about the same thing. George just wants to drink and get laid. He just says it prettier. You know, he's real smooth about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you take a song like The Chair, he's just pulling game.
Right.
He's just like, no, that's my chair, but you can sit there. Sure.
Exactly.
You want to go dance?
Oh, that's my beer. Wait,
Yeah,
that's your beer, but
Yeah.
I drank a little bit of it. Sorry. You know?
You listen to those lyrics, and it's a smooth song, but you listen, it's like, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, I've always loved George also. And that's straight from you.
Right.
Like, without you, he's old enough to where I would have been like, Check Yes or No came out when I was a teen.
Sure.
But I wouldn't have liked him as much as I do without
Right.
you. Hank Jr.
Hank Jr., well, there's actually a story about Hank Jr. And me.
Okay.
And my first trip to Nashville, actually. But Hank Jr. has a power to his singing and his writing and his showmanship that is very underappreciated. You know, everybody thinks of Hank Jr. that's not a country fan and thinks Monday Night Football's theme song. Right. But in the 70s and early 80s, man, he was dominating country music.
Right.
Dominating record sales. So Hank Jr., when I'm 24, 25, somewhere in there. No, maybe 26, something like that. Took a trip to Nashville. A friend of mine, Gary Bridges, lived out there, and he was operating in a bar.
Wasn't he with
Links in Denton?
Bridges and Denton, I thought.
Or Bridges
Yeah,
in Denton.
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I
was
remember
thinking of
them
Link
from
Denton.
Koala also.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Gary was doing a show called Legends, and they had the best impersonators in this show. Now, I didn't really realize, you know, at the particular time, but we went to see where they were building this new bar. And it's in a 6-story building, and the first 2 floors were going to be the bar, and then they were going to have some offices upstairs. So you're on the first floor, and you can look up and you can see where they've ripped out half of the second floor to create an area to look down onto the first floor. And all of a sudden, I hear this guy hollering from the second floor, you know, and I look up and it's Hank Jr. And I'm like, holy crap.
Right.
So he comes down, and we ended up going out drinking with him. Got up and sat in at a couple of places with him and stuff. And it turned out to not be Hank Jr.
Oh,
but an impersonator.
That's a good impersonator then.
Yeah. I mean, we were walking down the street, walking down Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee, and people are stopping left and right trying to get pictures and autographs. I mean, this dude was legit, and drank like a fiend.
Wow.
You know, I mean, he was challenging me to keep up with him, which was not easy.
No.
I tapped out after a little bit, but yeah, so anyway, you know, not many people know that story. I hadn't even thought about it for a very long time. So, but yeah, that's what I think of when you say Hank Jr.
Underappreciated, you think too?
No,
for
I'm
me,
not
what
underappreciated because country music fans know who
True.
Hank Jr. is.
What I enjoy about him is, you know, obviously I'm not old enough to really even know him, let alone his daddy, but Hank Sr. was a legend. Still, I mean, obviously still a legend. Mm-hmm. So Junior had big boots to fill, but instead he brought his own boots.
Yep.
And not only did he, and there's been plenty of people who have to fill shoes in entertainment. and sometimes they fill it and they become their own thing. Junior did it in a way where he became his own thing, but still held that Williams name.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still like, he just did it in such a way where I really think that's awesome.
Mhm.
Like his daddy would be super proud of him.
Yeah, I was just messing around with one of his songs this morning. It's one that I've done for a while. Basically, what I was doing was I was just brushing up on stuff that I hadn't personally played or sang in the last year.
Right.
And so I was messing around with Blues Man this morning. And I know Robin really likes that song too. So, but yeah, he some of the stuff that he's written and sold, people have no idea where his. He's got a song called Dinosaur that is just a great, great song. And unless you're a hardcore country fan, people don't know it.
Right.
But it's one for you to go back and take a
Yeah,
listen to.
I've never heard of it.
Yep.
Dinosaur.
And his version of Kalijah versus his daddy's.
I've heard that.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, so a year ago, we were working on learning it that way.
Right.
Hank Jr.'s version, and just throwing it down. And then I started getting sick and just didn't, reach the point where I was exhausted and needed a break from music. So didn't know it was going to be from having heart complications, but and now the coronavirus.
Yeah.
But, so I haven't played music since September now, which is a very long time for me.
It also gave your voice a lot of time to relax,
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Alan Jackson.
Alan Jackson has been one of the top 3 biggest stars in country music for the last 30 years.
But never the biggest. Have you ever realized that?
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah. Never quite. Well, that's because he had George Strait and Pure Country. George Strait from Pure Country on has owned country music.
Yeah.
With Garth Brooks turning a whole new generation into country music fans.
Same with Toby Keith. I think he did that too.
With
Boomtown.
Yeah. So Alan Jackson he's been a pure traditional country music star. Hell, my dad named his dog AJ.
Right.
So love Alan Jackson.
Brooks and Dunn.
Now, those guys, when they sing together, are magic.
Right.
Problem is after the first couple of albums, Kick's harmony was kind of real. You didn't really hear a whole lot of it, but Ronnie Dunn is
he's another level, right?
He is absolutely. I mean,
that's also almost a bad thing because Kix has a really good voice.
He does.
He's had in the first couple albums, he had his own singles on those albums, but Ronnie's just when he's on the radio, there's zero doubt who that is.
Absolutely. Yep. And I love Brooks and Dunn. Got to play across.
You're across the street from the
amphitheater when they did their concert there. So there was a place called Nukes right across from the Ice Palace amphitheater, same time form, Emily or whatever you want to call it. It's had a ton of different names, and we used to play at Nukes every time there was a big country concert or the rodeo or whatever.
Right.
And several times we got to play on the plaza of the Ice Palace for these big shows, and we've got pictures and videos from when we were able to do that. Here's something you don't know, but on Alabama's farewell tour, their backing band, came over to Nukes and hung out and played with us.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yep.
I have to sneeze. Hold on. Woo. That gets cut because otherwise I'm gonna blow their ears out.
Holy smokes!
I'm telling you. It's funny you said that because
dude just farted. It was really bad.
Yeah. It's your breath on the mic. Alabama was the next one I had.
Alabama is my favorite. Well, I have three favorite groups of all generations of music.
Right.
Alabama's one of in an equal tie with the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac. But country band, Alabama was the very first concert I ever went to.
Mine too.
Yep. Just their career.
Like
I mean-
there's not many bands that can not only just have as many number ones as they had, as many great albums as they had, but then put out what at least country fans consider one of the greatest Christmas albums ever. And it doesn't have any jingle bells or Blue Christmas or anything.
Yep.
Pure original music, and it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Every Christmas I listen to that album over and over again.
Right. Yeah. No. Alabama is hands down my best or my favorite country band,
Right.
and their music is
They're another like George
their
Strait.
music from the beginning is still playable today. Okay.
100%.
If Love in the First Degree came out today, it would still be a monster hit.
Yep.
If Feel So Right came out today, it would still
one of my
would
favorites.
blow up.
Close
you
enough to
know?
perfect.
Absolutely.
Right.
All that stuff, would just their music is good
Right.
enough then to go on today.
Okay.
So,
Aldine.
Jason's killing it.
Right.
His sound is my sound. I mean,
Right.
it's his sound is what is the sound I was looking for way back when I started this band.
Right.
I was lucky enough to have a guitar player with me who could create a lot of that same style. Darkhorse, if you had to put Darkhorse into a category, well, it's hard to, we really can't be put in a category because we learned in order to work as much as we worked, we had to be able to be versatile and play any genre of music.
You do a lot of Southern rock and stuff.
We
so,
do,
Yeah.
but there was a point in time where we were doing disco and funk
Yeah,
too.
I remember that.
We learned that in order to keep working, we had to be able to play to any crowd anywhere. And I can't tell you how many times we've heard, I don't like country, but man, you guys are something else.
Right.
So, but Bruce created the Darkhorse sound. His guitar style was so unique and so different.
For those who didn't know Bruce, he's along the lines of like a Carlos Santana. That dude could just rip on the guitar, and he had that perfect pitch on it. It
his
was
tone.
so good.
He used to say this thing to Ray and I. It's all about tone, baby. Tone. But his guitar playing and Ray's drumming and his acumen for putting in accents and changing things up, putting these things in that you just wouldn't think of. And then if you had a bass player like Clay or John Kianko, that Ray would do something and they would catch it in midair and do it with him. I mean, it was magical.
Right.
Some of the things that these guys as musicians could do, because on the stage, you can't only focus on what you're doing, right? When I'm on stage, the singing part of it is literally the last thing I'm paying attention to.
Right.
I'm listening to the drummer, I'm listening to the guitar player, the bass player, and not focusing on what I'm actually singing.
Right.
Unless it's something that I really have to focus on. It's and I've had a front seat to enjoy performing with the best talent this town has to offer.
I agree.
I've been blessed and lucky enough to perform with just phenomenal musicians. There was a point in time where I was in my late 20s, very, very, very early 30s, 30, 31 maybe. And there was a young and up and coming band of all young guys and they approached me about coming and singing for them. They were called the Outsiders, and they had been to Nashville, had showcased in Nashville, and there were some complications with their lead singer, and they were basically told, go home, find a new singer, and come back. Okay. They were going to be Rascal Flatts before Rascal Flatts. They were coming out dressed as hip-hop artists.
Right.
You know, because they auditioned in leather dusters, and the guy's like, no, we've seen and done that.
Right.
Come back with something new, you know. So they were going to come back with the boy band haircuts, you know, and all that. So basically Rascal Flatts before Rascal Flatts, because that's how they came out. So I was contemplating leaving Darkhorse and joining these guys, and I actually did a couple of shows with them, and I drove to Tampa for the first practice with them, and we're doing Trouble, right? We're practicing the song Trouble. So there's a thing in music called a passing chord, okay? And it's where the song resolves to in a chord progression, right? So the song Trouble's in G, so it's G, C, and D most of the way through it. But in order to walk the singer into the singing part, you do what's called a passing chord, and it just kind of, you know, you go back to the D, and then it ushers the singer in back to the 1, which is the G. These guys didn't know what a passing chord was. I didn't know what a passing chord was.
Until you didn't have it?
Until I didn't have it. I was like, you know, because I'm not a guitar player. You know, my job was to sing and entertain the crowd, which early on in my career, I would wear different hats and different comedian gimmicks, blow up guitar, and just try to make people laugh and keep them engaged and entertained. That was my job. And it wasn't until later that I picked up a guitar and started learning what the instrument is actually for, you know.
Right.
I still don't consider myself a guitar player in any way, shape, or form, but I do know that I can accompany myself. And I can, if I had to, do a show by myself for a little while. You know, not 4 hours, but I could certainly do a couple of hours, just me and a guitar. The guitar playing's not going to be great. The singing will be better than the guitar playing, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Man. We went way off course on that one.
I'm sure.
That was from Aldine. Chris Young.
Man, I don't think Chris Young has gotten the push from Nashville that he deserves. That guy, he did a version of Rainy Night in Georgia.
Dude, I just got chills when you said that. It's so good.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
No one's heard it.
No.
It's never been released. I actually found it by accident. A local musician, Will Harper, used to do that song, but he did the original version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I was adding music to my phone, and I typed in Rainy Night in Georgia, and the Chris Young version popped up, and I was blown away.
So good.
So good that it's my ringtone.
Right?
It is literally my ringtone.
The way he can go from that deep to hitting the falsettos, like,
yeah,
not many artists can do that.
Nope.
Have you ever heard his cover of Holes in the Floor of Heaven? That's not it. Was it? No. It's an Eric Clapton song. What am I thinking of?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. No, I have not heard his version of it. Tears of Heaven.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's the point where Eric just needs to sign that song over.
Right.
Like, he killed it.
Wow.
He did it for an award show or something. It was really good. He's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Just
mine too.
He's so good. Keith Whitley.
Keith Whitley died way too early. Nobody knows what he could have truly become. a lot of people think he would have been George Strait before George Strait. I think he would have been more Alan Jackson to George Strait.
Okay.
Because he was so blue, his roots are bluegrass roots, and he died in what, 89, 90, somewhere in there. That's when it was turning. The country was turning into what it is today, which is 80s rock country.
Kinda, yeah.
You know, so I think he would have had a lane and an avenue and had a very, very good career. You know, it depends on writing.
Yeah. Well, like Don't Close Your Eyes.
You know.
Incredible song.
Yeah, he's got songs.
He sounded so good.
Yeah,
in
he's
that.
got songs that he did back then that are valid today.
Yep.
You know, but he also has some other stuff that wouldn't have played today. You know.
Right.
You know, so he wrote a lot of his own stuff. You know, I bet you didn't know this. You know who Ricky Skaggs is,
Yep.
right? Well, they grew up playing bluegrass together in a band.
Trying to picture Whitley doing
For
bluegrass.
Bill Monroe,
Wow.
who was like the godfather of country, of bluegrass.
Yeah.
You know, he's you know, he was an unbelievable talent, and I still listen to his music today.
Oh yeah.
You know,
There's
I
a
can
lot-
tell you this: in a lot of bars, people love to hear a Keith Whitley song.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a reaction channel that reacts to music that I like to watch. A couple of it's Lost in Vegas,
I think
and
you
I've told you
me
about
this.
them. Two black guys that
Yep.
they started covering a lot of country stuff, and they listened to Don't Close Your Eyes, and they were just blown away about how smooth this guy could sing. They did make a comment about it that made me laugh, and they were listening to the words, and they were like, "Dude, man up! Don't let this girl treat you like that."
Right.
What do you mean she's singing about another man? But they really enjoyed his music.
Right.
So that's I love when that can cross over to
Yeah.
and people can appreciate it. Reba.
Have you ever seen Reba in a concert live?
Probably one of the biggest names I haven't seen.
Okay. Reba is a pure showman with a voice that is, first off, unmistakable.
Yep.
You hear a Reba song, you know it's Reba. My mom idolized her. Maybe idolize not the right word, but Reba was her favorite.
Right.
And so 12, 13, 14 years old, I knew every word to every Reba song.
Mm-hmm.
And her stage presence, it's like going and watching a Broadway play. Every move is choreographed. Everything is perfectly choreographed and perfectly carried out. But listen to her sing. There was a point in time where she did, the song wasn't a cappella, but the intro was a cappella.
Mm-hmm.
A version of Sweet Dreams by Patsy Cline that was spine tingling.
Right.
If you ever get a chance, just pull it up. You will be blown away. It's this long, sweet, and she carries that out and then comes down with the dreams. And it was just like, oh, wow.
Right.
My favorite Reba song is If I Had Only Known. And it talks about, if I had only known this was my last walk in the rain with you,
Ooh.
my last anything with you, my last kiss, last conversation, last hug. If you had only known this was the last 5 minutes with this person, what would you have done? What would you have said?
I almost don't want to think about things like that.
It is,
you know?
yeah. It's. I actually, the first time I ever heard that song was at the end credits of a rodeo movie about Lane Frost, who was a bull rider, who got speared by a bull in the middle of an arena and died right there. The movie's called 8 Seconds,
Yeah.
and the end credits is this song, and it shows the pictures of him and his wife, and
Wow.
yeah. So, that's my favorite Reba song.
There you go. My favorite is "This Night When the Lights Went Out in Georgia."
Mm-hmm.
Just a good story.
It's most
You know.
people's, yeah, yep.
Well, Fancy's also one of her top, but
Mhm.
that like her story writing in that is
Mhm.
awesome. Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood is a great female singer, who the established Nashville country artists, females, did not like this American Idol winner
Right.
getting all this attention. But you watch her and Brad on these award shows together, they are incredibly
Right.
funny. She's just a unbelievably gifted female singer, with an edge to her that
Oh, yeah.
people don't see coming.
Montgomery Gentry.
They are outlaw country. At least they started off
Right.
that way.
Montgomery Gentry.
When they
like
came out
Eric
with Hillbilly
Church kinda-
Shoes,
Oh,
man.
so good. That was one of the best albums.
Yes,
too.
yes.
And it had. I was trying to think of some of the other ones.
Yep.
Lonely and Gone
Yep.
was a good one.
Yep.
Was it The Farm or something like
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Um,
Man, that was a good
it's
album.
it's a shame that
Teddy. Was it Teddy
Yeah.
Gentry? Yeah.
Chetty Gentry passed away in a helicopter,
Yeah.
of all things. So, yeah.
Eddie was there too. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Like watched it. I couldn't
Mhm.
imagine.
Me either. Me either. It was.
Yeah, they.
We've lost a lot of true, unbelievable musicians.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest loss is Glenn Frey of the Eagles. Unless my brother is a huge Eagles fan, historian, buff, all those things, and I didn't develop a true appreciation for them until about 10 years ago.
Really, that.
I mean, I've always
short.
liked their music,
Right.
but actually learned the history of the band and who each person was and what they were responsible for until about 10 years ago. And in my CD player now in my truck is the very best of the Eagles,
I'm pretty sure every household owns that CD.
right?
I swear. It's just one of those CDs that it
Yep.
should be in every household.
Yep.
This one was actually one that Mom mentioned, Vince Gill.
Vince Gill's a very respected musician, singer, and all of those things. But for some reason, and I don't know why, he fell off mainstream radio
Real early.
real early. To me, real early.
I feel
He
the
had
same.
2 or 3 albums, and then he just kind of faded into the background. He did a duet or duo with was it Chris Daughtry?
Yeah. I think, yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
And nothing happened. He's actually on tour with the Eagles right now. Like playing
Right,
in the
sitting in the-
band,
yeah.
the Eagles, obviously Glenn Frey passed away. His son Deacon is playing with them
Right.
and doing his dad's songs. I don't know exactly what Vince Gill's doing in the band because I haven't seen videos of the concert because Don Henley
nobody
won't,
cares either.
Well, Don Henley won't allow people to
Right.
put stuff up on YouTube. So
Same with Garth.
Yeah.
Garth doesn't like it either.
right, so
It's unfortunate. I wish they would realize how big YouTube can be for music. Like,
yeah,
it's unfortunate. Johnny Cash.
like most people my age, I didn't truly appreciate Johnny Cash until I actually saw the movie with Reese Witherspoon and
Really?
and Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, I knew Johnny Cash, a handful of his songs,
Mhm.
But in his heyday, which was the 50s and 60s and 70s, I wasn't even born, So when I understood country music, he wasn't being played on the radio. If he was, it was on Solid Gold Country on Sunday nights,
Right.
you know. So while I knew a good chunk of his songs, I didn't know anything about him and actually how big of a star he was. I mean, he was on the same playing field as Elvis Presley. You know, who would have thought that? I
really
idea.
enjoyed the album he put out with Hurt when he redid the 9 Inch Nails song Hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it because the entire album was filled with songs that his generation shouldn't be singing. And he said, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to sing this. He did that. He did When the Man Comes Around was amazing. And I Hung My Head is one of my all-time favorite songs.
Yeah.
And it was just so good.
Yep.
And I think I heard that album before I even saw the movie. So that album, I was like, man, this guy, like, I understand. Thing to me, and I'm a lot younger, and I'm like, I understand why everybody loved him. And then I started listening to like more of the old stuff and appreciating it more. And then I saw the movie, and he's just an icon.
Yep.
He's just not even a country, but a music icon. Like, he should be recognized.
Absolutely.
We're going to go from that to not so much an icon, because you and I both have agreed that this man came out in the wrong generation, and that's Chris Cagle.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Chris Cagle comes out today. He's the biggest star on radio.
I completely agree. When he came out, he was Jason Aldean before Jason Aldean. It's just that simple. His
My
sound,
Love Goes On, Laredo.
Yeah,
so good.
His sound was, oh gosh, and he's just another one. I don't understand.
When he came out, Tim was huge, Alan was huge, Garth was still pretty big, and it's like they didn't want that sound then.
Yeah,
it sucked.
Hell, for me, I don't understand why I don't hear Travis Tritt on the radio.
Never hear him anymore.
And the only song you hear is that talking about the Wolf song, whatever the hell the name of that song is.
Travis Tritt's probably one of the best ballad singers of all time. That 3-song like almost movie he did. Oh, sir.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yep. Travis Tritt's one of my all-time favorites, period. He can he can sit on a stage in front of 50,000 people, just him and a guitar, and have them eating out of the palm of his hand. Yeah. He is just so good. Love Travis Tritt.
Such a good voice.
Yep.
Now, not all of these are going to be great, because this one I could care less about, but I still want your opinion. Florida Georgia Line.
They're doing their thing. It ain't my thing.
It's not country.
I enjoy a couple other songs.
No, I just said it's not country, but you just said that. When they released Dirt, I was like, that's a good song. And then I looked up, I was like, oh, it's them. I had no clue.
Right.
That's a real good song.
Yeah. I mean, they have, like I said, they have some good songs. I'm just, rap country. Come on, man. I can't handle it.
Which for you and I killed Jake Owen. That dude was amazing and started trying that crap.
And it wasn't just a one-time thing. It's like somebody told him he was a good rapper. I was like, dude, you suck. Stop.
Right.
It really, he has a couple of songs that
Alone with
great.
You. Alone with You is one of the greatest songs.
Yeah, I love Alone with You.
I love that song.
But even a couple of his rap songs, the chorus part of the song is great. And then all of a sudden he starts rapping, and I'm like, oh, turn this crap off. Exactly. I can't handle it. Just can't. Dirt Road Anthem is the only rap song, country song that is worth it.
That was
and this is coming from somebody who sang Chew Tobacco, Chew Tobacco, Chew Tobacco, Spit from Blake Shelton.
And I love Blake, but I hate that song.
Listen, the guys Ray basically had to force me into singing that damn song.
Right.
And the only thing that got me to do it was I heard Blake Shelton literally say on a radio interview,
"Oh, sorry about that. That just echoed in everyone's ear."
This is, his version of a it's not Chris Christopherson. It's Jerry Reeves from Smokey and the Bandit fame. Jerry Reeves sings all of his songs. So that's what Blake Shelton said he was going to do on the song. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
rapping, I'm talk singing. And
That's a very Blake thing to say too.
that, yes.
You know?
So that was the only, that made it okay for me to do it. Because other than that, I thought, this is the worst damn song
Right.
ever. But I can tell you this. People love hearing that damn song. Love
I don't know
hearing
why.
that crazy ass song. Had so many requests for it when we learned it.
But you never learned Aldean's.
No. Nope.
Why?
Because
And it's actually not Aldean's. It was actually done originally by
Colt
Colt
Ford,
Ford
yeah.
and Brantley Gilbert. Were the two that did it.
nope. Nope.
Another one that I'm not a big fan of, Luke Bryan.
I am a fan of Luke Bryan.
I used to be.
Yeah, I know that.
Right.
You know, he's got some good stuff. He's got some bad stuff.
I feel like he's always plugging his nose when he's singing. It's just
Yeah.
a very, and that's his sound. I don't want to knock it for that, but it's just I'm not a fan.
Right.
I haven't been for a few albums now.
Yep.
The one with he had an album that had a song called Muckley Creek.
Love that
And
album.
That's the best album
Yep.
from him.
Yep.
So
You actually turned me on to that album.
that was a great album.
Mm-hmm.
Tim McGraw.
Tim McGraw is to me a newer version of Alan Jackson. You know, he's had an amazing career. He's still relevant today. You know, just a great guy. You know, you don't realize until you look him up how many hits he's actually had.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's got the long. So he was part of the whole Tracy Lawrence, Tracy Bird, new crop of musicians who surprisingly was the one that came out of all of them guys to have this massive career. Right. You know, Mark Colley, Mark Chestnut, all these guys came out together. And Tim McGraw is the one that, but he had Indian Outlaw and
Refried Dreams, stuff
right?
Like that.
But his biggest hit was
Don't Take the Girl was the biggest,
which actually defined his career in the first year.
That was probably one of the first not one of the first, but it was a country song that went to pop and other, like there was people that didn't like country, like, ooh, have you heard this song?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't mess with country, but check this out. Like, I remember that. Ronnie Millsap.
Ronnie Millsap I saw in concert. And I watched this blind man climb on top of his piano and start dancing. Dude's phenomenal.
Really? I put him on
Lost
here.
in the 50s Tonight is one of my all-time favorite songs. Always wished I could sing that song. Smoky Mountain Rain, Stranger in My House. Stranger in My House.
That's why I put him on here. That's one of my all-time favorite songs.
Yeah.
And any artist today could release that song, and it'd be a hit. Well, if they could, like,
sing like
Blake could probably release that.
Yeah.
You know,
if Ronnie Millsap came out today with Stranger in My House and some of those things, Daydreams About Night Things, they'd be monster hits all over again.
So good.
You know, people don't think about Ronnie.
No.
You know,
no.
I don't know if he's in the Country Music Hall of Fame or not, but he damn sure should be.
He should be, for sure. I'll see if you even remember this guy. Keith Harling. His first and pretty much his only single was Papa Bear.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now, that song stuck with me for some reason. I thought this dude was going to be huge.
Right.
And he kind of looked like Alan with his long blonde hair and just fell off.
Yep.
I was like, man, I don't think anybody even remembers this guy. But I loved that song. That was, man, I was in middle school. That was 90s.
There's a lot of one-hit wonders out there.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, but they gave us one hit, at least, out of it.
Tyler Farr.
Yeah.
Redneck Crazy.
Yeah, where'd he go?
You hear anything else?
Nope.
Nope.
Wow.
Jamie Johnson, In Color. That's it.
And that dude can sing.
James Otto. Just Got Started Loving You, and that's
James.
it.
Did you ever hear about my dream? Dude, I don't know why. I had this dream right once. I was playing tennis with James Otto, but he was in his full like jeans, had all his bracelets on, and just like, and he got real mad at me, and we got in a fist fight, and I woke up and I was like, "The fuck was that?" Like out of all the people,
Yeah.
and this was only like a couple years ago.
Wow.
I have no, I ain't got nothing against him either.
Sound like you do. Sound like you want to get into a fist fight with James Otto. Would he steal your girl or something?
I just no clue why.
That's
But
hilarious.
I was so confused when I woke up. Oh, Winona.
Well, the Judds themselves
Mhm.
were amazing and in another level. Winona has had a solid solo career. But I think she reached a point where she did what she wanted, and now she just kind of does her thing.
Because she almost just disappeared.
She
almost.
still goes on tour, and still
Right.
does, like you see her at the Strawberry Festival and stuff like that. But I think she's had some personal issues that made her want to step out of the spotlight some.
That makes sense.
Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, we kind of already talked about Tracy Byrd a little. Gary Allen.
I think Gary Allen is one of those unappreciated artists like Chris Young. Gary Allen at different times has had major success, but it's never been sustained. It's
Right.
like
He's very up and down.
one hit on 2 albums will be monster, but there's nothing to follow it up and keep him going.
There's
Like
nothing-
Blake Shelton had, I think, 13 or 14 #1 songs in a row.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen.
Another thing with Gary was like he never had enough to buy an entire album. Like you have one great hit and the rest of the album is just
Right. Yep. But
like Smoke Rings in the Dark was a great
Oh,
song.
yeah. His voice is just so different and unique. I like Gary Allen. I've done covered him several times.
Eric Church,
Eric Church is the man.
right? He
He
should be the biggest country artist right now, but he doesn't get the play he deserves.
Well, I don't know.
I honestly think.
I hear him on the radio all the time. I love Eric
consider
Church's
him.
stuff. It took me a while to actually appreciate.
Okay.
So what I like about Eric was he came out, when he first came out, he had one minor hit, and then you didn't hear from him for a couple of years.
Mhm.
During that time, he was building an underground fan base.
Yeah.
He was continuously touring small honky-tonk bars,
Right.
college campuses and stuff, and he was redefining himself as an artist. And then he came out with Chief, and man, and from there on, it's been a freight train. He can take any and do anything he wants to do. It's so funny that you mentioned him, because Friday at work, I was doing some data entry, and I put on YouTube and just put on a rotation of country stuff.
Right.
And a duet of George and Eric Church came on. George Strait and Eric Church. Cowboys Like Us. And I was like, man, lean back
Right.
to the computer,
Just
pop it up,
enjoy it
and
for a minute.
just enjoy that for 3 minutes. I mean, I was like, man, look at this.
Yeah.
This is,
I remember at least the first single I remember from him was Guys Like Me. And even that time I was like, this is a really good song.
Yeah.
And then he was just gone.
yeah.
3 more. Let's go with Zach Brown.
Zach Brown is a band that has, to me, it's the best band on the radio, right? The musicianship is
Okay.
ridiculous.
Their harmony is
They're-
some of the
right.
best you'll ever hear.
I saw them do a version of Devil Went Down to Georgia, and I was like, oh, wow. Holy cow.
Right.
That's a group I want to see live. I've heard them live, heard recordings of them live, but never seen them live. That's one I want to pay to go see.
Okay. Probably the most popular, at least currently, and I like him a lot, and that's Thomas Rhett.
Yeah, I like Thomas Rhett too. His dad never got the credit his dad deserved.
Rhett Atkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rhett Atkins as a singer was pretty darn good.
Yep.
Songwriter, amazing. So you don't see too many sons have a bigger career than the dad did. But obviously Thomas Rhett does and is. Yeah, he's on fire. He's on fire. Him and I love Justin Moore. Out of this new crop of singers that are out right now, Justin Moore's my favorite, and then Thomas Rhett.
Right.
And Chris Young, even though Chris Young's a few years before those guys.
Right. End it with this one, Chris Stapleton.
Another one who I was like, who is this guy?
Right.
The first year anyone ever heard of him, he won all these awards. And I'm going, what the heck?
Yeah.
Jason Aldean just sold like 10 million albums. How does he not get Album of the Year? How does he not get Entertainer of the Year? How does he not get Male Vocalist of the Year? He got nothing.
Right.
And this guy who hasn't sold anything won all these awards. And then I started listening to his music, and I went, "Oh, okay."
That dude's another level.
The award show with him and
Timberlake,
Justin Timberlake,
Oof.
those two songs, I stood up
right
in my living room clapping.
Yeah.
Okay, I had never seen anything on any award show ever in my life that came close to touching what those two guys did that
Right.
night. I mean, just wow.
I mean,
Wow.
he became popular pretty much because of his cover of Tennessee Whiskey.
Yeah.
And by rightful so, he absolutely killed it. He reinvented that song. But Parachute, incredible song.
I'm a Traveler.
Traveler is
one of
so
my
good.
Favorite songs.
Sometimes I Cry. I Was Wrong. He's just
Mm-hmm.
good. And even the most recent one that I remember, Millionaire, when he first released it, I was like, oh, it's a little more upbeat for him. I'm not sure if I like it. I was like, okay, I was right. I like it. So
Yeah, so initially, because I thought Jason Aldean got screwed, I was like, I ain't listening to this guy. I'm not listening to this guy. I'm not listening to this guy.
he's so good. He's so good.
Some talents you just can't deny,
Exactly.
you know.